Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MTL Sports Podcast. We got the gang back today, and we're finna give you a good episode. We got, of course, the NBA free agency still going on, but we're going to give you, our winners and losers thus far. And then we're going to head into rapid fire. So a short news week, not too much happened over the weekend. But we do have some hot topics for you in rapid fire, so please stay tuned, y'all. Let's kick off the show today with our NBA free agency winners and, of course, losers. Now, Lawrence, I'm going to let you start off first since I kind of kicked off last week with my early winners and losers. So now it's been about a week and a half of free agency. You had time to think on this, time to let it sit, in your mind. Simmer a little bit in the pot. Give us your winners and losers.
All right, so there's some teams you can't judge on yet. I'm just going out there. You can't judge on some teams. Like the Heat, for example. You can't judge the Heat. If it's at the moment and everything is done based on the moment, it'd be probably an F. But, they're not done yet. They still got big names.
I would agree. As a Heat fan, I would agree.
But, so for losers, right? For losers. I'm just going straight up with the losers. You got to start with the bad and end with some good. So for losers, I went Atlanta Hawks, right? Because you haven't done anything, right? In terms of signing, in terms of signage, you haven't done anything. It's not like your draft talent was anything like to write home about and be excited about. So, I mean, okay, so you got rid of John Collins. You can say, okay, we got rid of the John Collins contract. He wasn't, anything outstanding anyways, but it doesn't matter. You got Rudy Gay for him, and Rudy Gay might play. He might play like max like 8 or 10 minutes a night, which, John Collins was a starter, so I went from a starter to a guy who's barely going to play. So a little bit questionable move. And like I said before, just a second ago, like it's not like they drafted anything exceptional. I don't even think they have like one draft pick. So
yeah,
it's nothing.
Dallas.
I guess you can write a good. You can write a good little statement for him that they re-signed Murray. Kept that thing going. But did it work? There was questionable times as to whether or not if it worked or not. Maybe they still got to get rid of some more players. I don't know, but I'm just going to go right now. But if we can't really, I don't really hear the Hawks name in many conversations. So I'm just going to assume that most of the things that they were doing are done. So I would give the Hawks a pretty low grade. Next, I don't even know if I can't even say they had a horrible free agency so far, but I just want to say it just because I'm kind of annoyed. I just went OKC. You got Patty Mills. That was exciting a little bit because you kind of did something you needed. You shoot threes. You got a player who doesn't like to shoot a lot of threes in SGA. So you sign a guy so he can shoot threes for SGA. So SGA doesn't have to. That was a pretty good move. But then you immediately just got rid of him. Questionable. For draft picks, which is questionable because they don't have draft picks. So in reality, what did you do it for? Is what it comes down to, and that's kind of where I'll end it on the OKC. He's like, okay, we're gonna just completely buy into our young talent, which I'm not opposed to. It's not a bad idea, but the idea of having young talent just blossom without any kind of like veterans around. Just like I thought it was a little questionable, which is why I thought like a Dennis Schroeder would have been really good for them. Dennis Schroeder obviously didn't end up with them, but I also thought when Patty Mills went there, it wasn't a bad idea because Patty Mills has leadership for the Australian team. He's kind of a big deal in Australia, so he's kind of a captain. Would you say like a leader?
Oh, for sure.
For the Australian team. he's not going to be like what Chris Paul was for you a couple years ago, but dude, you don't need Chris Paul again. The whole point is you just need a guy that could, you know, tell another guy like, hey, it's okay, you just keep shooting. You know, I guess a younger guy can do the same exact thing. It's just different when the vet is telling you to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're thinking that SGA is a veteran at this point or anything, but I would consider SGA a vet.
No way.
It doesn't make any sense that like basically the only vets on your team are like SGA and Lou Dort. Like those are the oldest guys on your roster. And I just feel like you should have added some a little bit more, just a little bit more age. Because if you're so young, you can just put in bench depth of age, and then every
Mm-hmm.
time those guys go to hang out on the bench, like the old guy gives them a pep talk. There's just little tiny things they could have done that I'm a little disappointed. But you already talked. You brought it up to me a little bit about how yeah they got draft picks, and in a couple like a year or two, or maybe halfway through the season they'll go after some vets with all those draft picks. Yeah, I get it, maybe so, but it was just a little boring. I guess the strategy that they have of just going after draft picks. And then another one I just want to throw in there is the 76ers. The only real big signing that they've done at all was to get James Harden back, and we already know that he's going to immediately leave. So, kind of questionable on that end. Because if he's just going to leave you immediately, then the only big thing that you've done this offseason is lose Niang, which
That
arguably is going to
hurts.
be, yeah, I was going to say, is arguably going to be a lot worse than you think it is until about, like, I want to say a quarter way into the season when you actually start noticing um, kind of his talent just off the bench just go away. Like, there was some nights where Niang just scored 20 points off the bench, or he did that post up starting job and scored 20 points. Like, he did it multiple times. And then they let McDaniels walk away for nothing as well, which kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
So you let those two guys walk away for nothing, but you can't say they have. But you basically are going to let Harden walk away for nothing because no one's going to give you anything for him. They're going to give you stuff. It's not going to be anything exciting. You're probably going to get draft picks and a half decent player, maybe two half decent players and some draft picks. So he really didn't up anything on that one either. So it's just a lot of things for the 76ers. I just think they're also one of those teams that, like, you didn't do anything besides go downward. I will say that about the OKC. It's a little mean to me because, like, they didn't go downward. They just stay stagnant. But when you're a young,
Hmm.
talented team, I don't think young, talented teams need to stay stagnant. So,
Okay, I agree. Especially with the young team part. You definitely
mm-hmm.
you want to see growth. You don't want to see young stars or even just young players in general. Because not even NBA player is going to be a star, but you
Mm-hmm.
definitely got to see them get better. And there's going to be a point where there's so many of them on that roster that there won't be enough, spotlight for everyone to shine. So that's a little concerning.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I'll start with the losers as well. Um, my first loser, uh, who did I say was losers? Uh, I completely forgot. So let me go with the winners, actually. My first winner, I have it written down somewhere, but I can't find it. My first winner, I said this last week, I think on last Monday's show, has to be the Lakers. I feel like they did a good job with the Reeves. No, they kind of pushed off all the suitors by saying basically, "Hey, we know Austin's restricted. We're gonna match anything." Number one, and then number two, we'll match it at the last possible second. So to other teams, they're basically saying, "Hey, you're gonna basically have like 20 million plus in cap tied to Austin Reeves until the last minute, and then we'll match. And by the time we match, it's not going to be anyone of that value still on the marketplace. So it's basically like a deterrent. So they did that, and
Yeah.
then still got Reeves for a really good price. And like in 4 years, that contract's gonna be a bargain. And who knows in 4 years how good Austin Reeves is going to be. Like even if he plateaus, you still can say Austin Reeves is a good player, like very good player. And then at the very least, he'll what at the very best you're looking at an all star. So that was good. But also, I think the biggest thing was getting D'Angelo back, not losing him from nothing. Like a lot of these teams have lost like the really good players for nothing. I feel like the Lakers getting him back 2 years. I think what $37 million, very reasonable price. I mean, D'Angelo, we all thought that hey, this man's going to try and get the bag. He's probably going to want at least comparable money that he was making before, which was like what $30 or $35 million. But to get him at like a huge discount, like what is that, like 18 or 19 million a year? Like that's huge. Like that's a lot of cost savings.
Part of that was because he wanted to play with LeBron again.
Yeah, and LeBron gets a lot of people paid, so I think that was part of his thinking too. Like, hey, let me get this. Might be a discount, but hey, in a year or two, my value is just going to go up because I play with LeBron. So I like that. I like they brought back Rui. His price was fair. I feel like some people think it's a little bit too expensive. I feel like for what he did in the playoffs and what he's projected to do next season, I feel like it's a fair price. So all in all, good. I love the Torian Prince signing. That was really good. And then you got Gabe Vincent as your backup point guard. He can start if needed to. That was huge for them. He's scrappy, plays defense. He might get picked on a little bit, but he can hold his own. So all in all, I love the Lakers. Thought they're definitely winners. And staying in the West, my second winner, it's gonna be Dallas. And what sealed the deal for me was the Grant Williams sign and trade. Um, Now, like I said last episode, Bruce Brown was the first option, right? I think that was pretty much televised everywhere, and everyone knew it. So that's why Pacers threw a big bag at Bruce Brown, and I don't hate him I don't blame him at all for taking $40 million. I mean, you won the NBA championship, you were making chump change, and now you making $40+ million over 2 years. Like, hey man, you deserve it back, so go get it. But Grant Williams just a bigger package of Bruce Brown, probably just not as good of a playmaker and probably doesn't shoot as well, but he's exactly what Dallas needs. And they had to let go of Reggie Bullock, but I feel like they have plenty of those like guard / like smaller wings that can easily fill that void. So um with the Grant Williams sign and trade, with drafting Derek Lively, with the trade for Rashawn Holmes, good competent center. They brought back Powell for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe he'll play. I don't know. They got too many centers, so they need to figure out what they're gonna do with all three or four of them. But Seth Curry was a good pickup, 3-and-D guy. Got Kyrie. Getting Kyrie at a team friendly deal when he was basically trying to command all the money he could get, that was like another huge win for them. I mean, 3 years for like what, 126. So not the max, but $40+ million for 3 years. It is what it is. We'll just have to see if he stops with his antics or whatever. We'll see if he pisses off Mark Cuban or not. But I think Marky Mark got the best of that situation. I only have to pay the man for 3 years, and he didn't get the max. So I feel like that's a win. So that is my winners. Did you do your winners yet?
I've not done my winners yet.
All right, so let's trade off. Let's do your winners. Who are your 2 winners?
All right. So currently, what I have listed as my 2 winners is I kind of just stayed. I don't want to say simple, but I saw what you were going to do, so I didn't want to mimic you, obviously. So I kind of just went a different route, and I kind of went the Bucks as a winner, mainly because, in my opinion, they did everything they were supposed to right. So, let's just bring Brooke Lopez in and Chris Middleton back. Okay, so they brought both of them back, and they didn't pay them incredibly high deals or anything. So they're pretty, they're well paid for who they are, but they're pretty team friendly. The Brooke Lopez deal is only 2 years, so even if he does kind of I guess maybe have plateaued, it's okay because in a couple it won't matter in a little bit. Um, Giving Crowder another chance to come back with the team on a pretty cheap
Yeah.
deal. I think it worked well for them. He gets a whole offseason to get ready with them. Malik Beasley, I think if he's just going to be a backup, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And him in a backup role I think would just suits him a little bit better. I think it'll help him be a little bit more electric that way as well. Just throw in there getting Robin Lopez. I mean, the Bucks didn't really lose anyone, so that's like a good end of the bargain. They didn't really lose anyone.
Javon Carter. Joe Ingles.
I'm okay with Joe Ingles and Javon Carter going.
What? Carter was huge for them.
I think he's replaceable. I think you can just there's different bodies on that team that you can just ask to do different things. For instance, I think Grayson Allen he'll have to step up a little bit more than he has in the past in terms of role playing,
especially if he wants to get paid.
But his payday is coming up soon, and I just think Grayson Allen's probably going to step up a little bit more, especially if he gets more time as well. I just can't see him getting any worse than what he is. So that's kind of does it for the Bucks for me. It's just the fact that they didn't lose anything. They pretty much kept everything. And then the next one for me is the Suns. So for the Suns, for me, and I put the Suns because, as I was telling you, I was like, the fact that they still kept all that good talent on that team, and then they were able to get a bunch of, I don't want to say, I'm not going to say all-stars or anything, but, dude, they got a bunch of
decent players.
Backup talent. Just
yeah.
I think Eric Gordon is the standout superstar of obviously not superstar, but standout superstar signing. There you go.
Yeah.
Because he's just gonna be such a pest to every other team. The fact that he can just pretty much play any position, whether he plays your position great, no, but it doesn't matter. He can literally just do anything you want him to do. Bates Diop, he's serviceable. Damian Lee, in my opinion, is one of the better signings. Just because, dude, he can light up points for you. And if, last year, the bench would come in and they just didn't score, they just didn't do anything. Okay, well now they can do stuff. The bench actually has some talent in order to get some points on the board, so you don't. There's not just this big hole. It's empty hole every time it comes in and out. And then I think the biggest important one that they re-signed was Okogie. Dude, there's so many games last year where Okogie was just how is this man not a starter? He just did some stupid stuff as a guy who's just coming off the bench all the time. So essentially, I thought they did everything they were supposed to, especially just filling out that roster in order to be competitive. I still would like to see them move off Ayton and just get a big body or rebound kind of guy. Because in my opinion, for that center position for them, you got. I mean, let's just be realistic. You got Durant, you got Beal, and you got Booker. Booker can shoot threes, and he can drive in the paint. Beal doesn't like to shoot threes, but he just drives the paint so well. And then you got Durant, who can drive the paint, shoot threes. If there's a smaller guy on him, he can play bully ball down there. So if he gets a mismatch, he can exploit that. So in my opinion, really the only thing you kind of need to do is just because Aiden gets a little heartbroken, gets a little
he's a little softy.
Gets a little DVE when he doesn't get the points, doesn't get his score as much.
Yep.
So I'll just go on a limb and say that one. They should just get rid of him and just give it a serviceable, big to just get rebounds for you and to score 10 points a night. Do I need any more from a big?
No.
Just someone to get me rebounds so I can get the ball back to Durant.
I agree. I feel like perfect fit for them would just go back and get JaVale. Like, just make that trade.
Somehow convinced Dwight Howard to come back from Taiwan.
I don't know how good he'll look in the
No,
NBA versus how he look versus the people in Taiwan, but
nah, man, he gets in trouble too much. He's not consistent enough.
I don't think he could play 30 minutes either. He'd probably only give you like 15 max. Nowadays, he's just too old. But yeah, Suns were my honorable mention. They did pretty good. They had a pretty good off season for what they could afford, which is basically veteran minimum. So basically, a lot of the deals are 1+1s, vet minimums. These guys are looking to get paid the following year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for what they had to offer, they did really well. So they were my honorable mention.
Now, bunch
Now,
of ring chasers.
hey, I mean, you have three superstars. Arguably, you have four stars. Aiden's kind of like you said, a diva.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't hate it, man. I don't hate the ring chasing because these guys that are ring chasing, okay, you can call me a ring chaser, but even if we make it to the conference finals, I'm gonna get paid.
Yeah,
Especially for like small guys like Bates Diop, like man only has like 2 more contract signings, and for him, like a payday for him, that's like like 15 million would be like a nice, okay, I can live comfortably now kind of payday.
oh for sure. You're gonna see next year. A couple of these guys are gonna get paid like Bruce Brown, most likely, especially if they make the like you said the conference finals or even the finals. Like there's gonna be a couple of Bruce Browns out of this group, or at least there'll be like a couple of like Gabe Vincent's or Max Struess's where they play in for cheap and then they get like a big bag. So I'm not mad at it. Ring chasing's been going on for a while, so it's not a big deal. But uh, losers for me. First loser, we're gonna have to go with the NBA champs. Now, you might be like, wait, they just won. How can they be losers? Well, you kind of lost the two guys who pretty much solidified how good your roster was last season, and Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. Now, I understand Bruce Brown. You couldn't pay him. You can't pay him $20 million. The most they could offer was basically $7 or $8 million was the max that Denver could offer. And then you're basically telling him, hey, take a pay cut for 1 year, and then next year we'll pay you. Didn't work out. Obviously, Bruce Brown had to jump and get his bag. No one's blaming him. Not even Denver's blaming him because
You don't pass up
like,
that money.
yeah, he's only made like $11 million in his career. He's getting 40 over 2. Why not take it? But what I do have a problem with is Jeff Green. And the fact that they give big government, aka Reggie Jackson, who barely played in the playoffs. He literally played like a couple minutes in the finals in that first game when they were blowing out Miami. He didn't play that much, but yet they give this man like $5 or $6 million for 2 years, like $10 or $12 million. Like, okay, Jeff Green only signed for at first he only signed like 1 year, $6 million. So I was like puzzled, like, wait, you had $6 million to give to Jeff Green, but you going to give it to Reggie Jackson, who barely played for you. And then I think they like amended Jeff Green's deal, so now it's like 2 years and like $16 million for the Rockets. And Jeff Green was their backup 5. It was like him and Christian Braun or Brown, whatever that kid's name is. Like they were the backup small ball 5. So now you're putting the backup Jokic into the hands of the second year player, because you lost Thomas Bryant. You lost Thomas Bryant too. He went to Miami. So you like, I don't like how early they're like starting to depend on like this young talent. Like it would have been a different story if he had like a kid who you were kind of like developing for like a year or two, and then it's like, okay, we're cool. We don't need Jeff Green. It's getting old anyway. But like you're like immediately expecting results from like kids you're just drafting or kids like maybe with 1 year of NBA experience. Like I feel like that's not smart. And losing Bruce Brown for nothing hurts. Like at least the Celtics got two second rounders for Grant Williams. They didn't even try to work out like a sign and trade. So I just feel like their team just isn't as strong. The starting unit is strong, at least for one more year because they have KCP under contract for one more year. But they're just definitely not as deep and as formidable as they were last season. So we will see. They're still the best team in the West, but you can't say the margin is that wide. Like the gap between them and the next team isn't as huge as it was. So it's still early, but we will see. Second team that are losers, also in the West. All my teams were in the West. I'm going with Portland. Portland, they failed Dame. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Miami fan and I want him in Miami. Nah, I was saying this before. Like as soon as they signed Grant, and that was the only move they did, I was like, really? Even before that, actually, like if you think about it, when they were like, standing pat on, hey, we're drafting Scoot. There's not a trade out there that we really like to help Dame out. That to me already made them losers because you have a 32-year-old about to turn 33 who's been very adamant, very outspoken for like the first time in a while because he was very outspoken about he didn't want to play with kids. He ain't got time for that. And, his window's closing, so he needs to win now. And basically, he had to endure the past 2 or 3 seasons with this new GM, Cronin, who obviously wants to rebuild but doesn't want to tell Dame, face to face, man to man, and tell him his real plan. So they've been losing for a couple of years in terms of all seasons. But this year it's F plus if that's a thing. Like they were horrible. Sign Grant to like a bad deal. If you're going to trade Beal, why are you going to honor that deal? Like that doesn't help them out at all. The draft was okay, but only getting Grant and you matching Thibel's contract for whatever reason, like your whole problem was you had too many guards, and then you just re-signed another guard for like a bad offer sheet. I just don't understand. So, for me, Portland's definitively losers. Probably one of the worst off seasons out of all 30 teams. I feel like they're up there. Them and Philly. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to that Portland one. I mean, I think it's deserved that Dame gets to leave. I mean, he gave enough for you guys already. Pretty sure he has the most points in Trailblazer history as well. So,
No.
I mean, the man literally has done everything for you, and you can't honor him by just trading him away somewhere, and all because you want something for him. It's like you're gonna have to take a look around the league. Like people aren't really getting things that they absolutely want for people. You just have to have I guess what I want to say, the gall. Just go ahead and just move off talent to get other talent. Like I can't say the Wizards are having any kind of amazing offseason, but they got rid of some big contracts. They don't look completely trash. Do they look good? No, but they don't look completely trash. They still got their guy they want to build around for the future in Kuzi. So, I mean, if I'm restarting the season with, we're not even going to say Lillard because Lillard's probably not going to start. But we're going to go with Simons, Scoot, Grant. What was it? Jabari Smith? Is it a small forward or?
Grant's a small forward. The 4 is probably Nasir Little. He might be the 4.
Yeah, and then you got oh man, I can't even think of the man's name. And I've been dogging him for the last couple weeks.
Nurkic.
There you go. I mean, yeah. I'd rather have what the Wizards have. I mean, Tyus Jones.
Honestly.
Tyus Jones, Poole, Kuzi, Gafford. I don't know who we got. Avdia playing power. I don't know who's gonna play power.
Denny's gonna have to play power.
But I'm okay with Denny playing power. He's just a hustle guy, so he's not meant to score points. That's what we got. That's what we brought in Poole for. So that's what Kuz and Poole are for. And then Ty's just supposed to glue it all up. I mean, that's a better offseason of getting rid of Beal and Porzingis, but then still having a team that you can fight for a play-in spot. It's way better than being bottom feeders and not getting rid of your best guy.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And especially since the Wizards, like, as much as you want to say, like, I think they did admirably for Beal. Like, man, this man's done everything for you since you drafted him. We'll send him somewhere talented, and we'll get some talent back. But like, I don't know. I feel like they're thinking they're gonna get a trade. Like, okay, we're gonna give you Lillard. You're gonna have to give us like Bam Adebayo. You ain't getting Bam, man. You ain't getting Bam, man. You just ain't getting Bam. Okay, you might have to accept the fact that you're getting Lowry. Okay, but just because you get Lowry doesn't mean anything bad. You can get Lowry and make him play for, I don't know, a quarter of the season and say, okay, trades are open for Lowry. You know, you need to make, you try to make the postseason. Your point guard's hurt. Lowry paid 25 minutes for you, and then when your point guard comes back, he can go to the bench too. He's already used to it. So
yeah, their GM. I know he's still new, and I don't know if it's his first GM job, but he's not very strategic. And like you said, like the Wizards, Michael Winger had a goal in mind. We got two big old contracts. They gotta go.
And I want to spend money my way.
And he wants to spend money.
I want to spend money my way. And I don't hate on everything he spent his money on so far. I mean, are we gonna look the same? Are we gonna look like the same exact team next year? Probably not, because Tyus Jones is probably gonna get a big payday after this year. That's just my opinion. I just think Kuzi and Poole and Gafford. I'm not even gonna hate on Gafford. Gafford can score 15 and 10 every night if he wants to.
That's a big if. He's iffy. But let's talk about the Wizards. Like let's go over there since they're the local team. What would you say their grade is? And are they winners or losers? Because I feel like I feel like they're winners, but then definitely not like an A category, but they're definitely winners.
I think you can look at it in two lights, right? For a fan perspective, I think I give it like a B. From a tactical GM standard, I give it an A.
Okay.
There's just two ways to look at it. I mean, that's just my opinion. There's just two ways to look at it. And in terms of a GM, I like that I have all this money. I can do whatever I want on. In terms of, having excitement to look on the court, fans are going to be like, oh, we got rid of Porzingis and Beal for Tyus Jones, who's not flashy, who's not sexy. He just gets the thing done. But Poole's pretty flashy and sexy. And Kuz is fashionably. So, I mean, Kuzma, you know what you're getting, and we already saw that. So, I mean, Kuzma's just fashionable. He's like a fashionable sexy, you know what I mean? So, we got what we got, and it's a B because we can't really complain that hard because we're at least going to have a play-in opportunity. I don't know if we're going to make the play-in, but at least we're going to be fighting for that in that area of it.
Yeah.
So, and then for a GM perspective, like, okay, I got a bunch of young guys with expiring contracts. Like Tyus Jones just gets me through the season, and I can figure out at the coming next year. I got Poole for a future. We got Kuzma for a future. Gafford's probably not my future, but I could re-sign Gafford, and he could be my backup. And he's a straight up good backup. So, Avdia is, I guess, I want to say just feasible for a year, but in my opinion, I just think two ways to look at it. B, if you're fan. A, if you're the GM who's trying to get yourself moving for the future.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like even more so, I feel like fans overall are okay with what they've done. Like I don't feel like I've heard or talked to any Wizards fan that was upset about them trading Bill and Porzingis. Like I feel like the fan base, even if you're not a fan, just like living in the area, I feel like people who follow them knew for like the past like I want to say like at least 2 years that hey, it was probably time to move on, but they kind of did what Portland did and wait till like almost the last minute, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like excited now because it's like okay, we're still bad, like we want to be bad regardless, but at least we get to watch exciting young talent who we never seen before. Like we had the same guys for the past 5 years, like at least they got in, mix it up, and like you said, they can spend money, in the future their way. They're not tied to these big old contracts. Um, so yeah, I agree with you. It's like a B plus perspective as a fan, as a GM. Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. Uh, they did get fleeced with the trade, but I mean, if he wanted to go to Phoenix, he was going to Phoenix. The no trade clause pretty much dictated where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
Six,
Well,
six second round picks isn't the best, but at least you flip Chris Paul into something. So
that's what I was gonna
because of
say.
that, yeah, because of that, it's an A.
Yeah, because like, dude, Chris Paul was gonna get waived, and then they were like, wait, we're not gonna waive you. We're just gonna trade you. And Chris Paul was probably like, huh? Who's gonna be stupid enough to do that? Well,
Lo and behold, the Warriors.
the Warriors were actually the stupid enough team to do that. You could have just waited a few days, and he would have been available for you.
So I think the future is looking bright in DC. I watched the rookie. I watched him last night, Koulibaly against the Celtics. He's looking good. He reminds me, in the couple games I've seen him play, he reminds me of like a shorter Giannis because he likes to drive a lot. He likes to attack, but the jump shot just isn't there. But he plays really good defense and he drives to the basket. So I feel like he's a good prospect. Just gotta give him time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, y'all. That is our NBA free agency winners and losers. There's pretty much all the big fish have been, caught in the free agency. There's only some small guppies left, some small minimum guys left. So we thought it was the perfect timing to give out our grades and our winners and losers. But coming up next, we have rapid fire. We have a couple of some NFL topics and USA versus Canada. The football match from last night. Everyone, we're back, and we're gonna hop into rapid fire here. First up, we have U.S. versus Canada. Heated match last night. Probably went as best as it could. Maybe not the result the U.S. was looking for, but Lawrence, give me a recap of last night and how do you think the U.S. is going to fare going forward?
So the only problem with the U.S. team is I'm sorry, not the U.S. team. The only problem with this Gold Cup team is that we're so heavily reliant on MLS players, trying to I guess, be outstanding. And I guess the interesting to think about or say about it is it's just a bunch of this whole Gold Cup. It's just a bunch of MLS players, and if we were to use our A team, we wouldn't be struggling every other night like we are. Because if you watched the game last night, Canada's team was like half MLS. Some of these other teams Panama, like Guatemala, like a lot of these guys that are playing on those teams are in the MLS. So it's just a little questionable. First off, how we got to the point that this is the roster that we're going to use. It's questionable, and we thought that we could be. I wouldn't say. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people got overhyped about the team because we beat. I think it was like Saint Ives or something, and we beat Trinidad and Tobago, and we absolutely destroyed these two teams. But I mean, that's nothing. I mean, I guess it's cool, but that's not really outstanding. It's like if we can't even be excited over it, really.
Yeah.
Another thing to gloss about or talk about is the fact that like we are going to struggle against Panama. I mean, we shouldn't have even struggled against this Canadian team that we did. It's not even all the best Canadian players. The Canadians had like 3 whole shots on target. In the first 90 minutes, they had 1 whole shot on target, and it was the penalty kick. So I just have a hard time believing that this is who we get and this is who we can use, and it just kind of shows that like we didn't respect the Gold Cup this year at all. And yeah, we're probably going to say, well, it's going to end up being Mexico versus United States anyways. Who cares? Who cares if we had to like crawl to the finish line to get there? It's just kind of it's deflating, knowing what kind of players we actually do have at our disposal who just don't want to play because of the coach. And the other worst part is it's like they don't want to play, and not even because of the coach that's coaching now. It's or on the court or on the field right now. It's the coach that they don't want to play for who's is currently chilling at home right now. And it feels like, yeah, dude, you really had so much like I guess bad blood for that coach. You could have just played for this BJ guy and then not played when Brad comes back. So it's just so disappointing. And I honestly think we're going to struggle against Panama. And if we do get to or if we do play Mexico, which probably will, there's a good chance we lose to Mexico because Mexico did what we did, and they just sent a bunch of young guys. And it would be one thing if we sent all of our young guys, but no, we sent a bunch of MLS guys who are kind of older. And there's a reason why. And there's another thing, like some of us in the group chat were talking about last night, like, dude, the MLS can't develop any defenders. And I get it, like, dude, the MLS doesn't play defense. But like as a country, like, I mean, Turner is he's a good, and I mean he's a good goalkeeper. And the fact that he's playing for the B team is insane, but he normally plays for the A team anyways, or is on the A team. So it's something to be concerned about on that end. But it's concerning that like him and only like 2 other guys from the A team are even like blessing the roster with their presence. And the fact that the United States has to score all these goals at the last minute in order to try to move past is also concerning as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch much of the game, but I caught some highlights, and I feel like even with a B team, like the U.S. should be able to perform better than they did last night. And this is the feeling I get from them is the same feeling I get, with the upcoming, FIBA World Cup team with all of our basically B tier stars in the NBA. Like those guys are going to struggle too against every other country because every other country is using their A team. So I don't understand. But I mean, in this case, guys aren't playing because of a multitude of reasons, not the main reason being the coach. So I think in 2 different sports there's some problems with the national team. So more to cover on that soon. The U.S. plays Panama, I think, in a couple days, right? So
tomorrow.
Oh, well, tomorrow.
No, wait,
so
no. Wednesday. Sorry.
Wednesday. Okay, so depending on how that goes, you might hear us again in rapid fire for the next episode. So stay tuned for that. But up next, we have for rapid fire, ESPN has some position rankings. We're going to start with their edge rushing category. So I'm going to read the list, and we're going to break down the list for you guys. So number 1 on the list, we have Nick Bosa from 49ers. Number 2, Myles Garrett. Number 3, Micah Parsons. Number 4, TJ Watt, Steelers. Number 5, Hassan Reddick, Philadelphia Eagles. 6, we got Max Crosby from the Raiders. 7, Brian Burns from the Panthers. 8, Matthew Judon from the Patriots. Von Miller is 9. And number 10 is Joey Bosa from the Chargers. So, Lawrence, how do you feel about these rankings as a whole? And do you agree with, I guess, the top 3, I'd say?
Okay, so my only question is, and I'm looking at the same list you just read to me, was kind of the Micah Parsons in there, because it says last year as off-ball linebackers, and there's a whole category that they like. There was 3 lists that came out, and one of the lists was off-ball linebackers. For me, I still kind of put Micah Parsons as off-ball linebacker than I do pass rusher. I get it though, because he's pretty good. No, sorry, he's not. He's extremely good at what he does. But I don't know. I just don't know if I would have kept him at that or would have put him at that. Just a little questionable in my opinion, because his whole his whole MO isn't pass rushing like these other guys are. Like everything they live, breathe, and do is pass rushing. That's not what he does. I mean, this man plays coverage and everything. So a little questionable, but what is what it is. He does a good job at pass rushing, so kudos. I think I would have put J.J. Watt ahead of him, because he does do better at pass rushing. What I do love though is putting the Hassan Reddick and giving him some respect.
Yes.
I mean, his highest ranking, he says he was 2. Probably. But I just remember that year he played for the Panthers, and man, he was outstanding. And last year with the Eagles, he was a big part of the reason why they went to the freaking Super Bowl. So, I mean, hats off to Son Reddick for 1, getting paid, and then 2, after getting paid, actually, doing some good with that money and, still showing out. And a lot of guys, they get paid and they're like, okay, time to take a year off.
Yep.
Max Crosby, I could have him lower, but then I look lower and I'm like, oh, who could I replace him with? I'm not mad at it. Because it's basically his intensity, and then the level that he can bring the other guys he plays with, that do it for me, that keep him up in this category or keep him this high. I love that Brian Burns is getting some love and get put in 7th. Another one I'm kind of questioning, and I'm gonna sound like a hater, but Von Miller doesn't deserve to be in the top 10. Yeah, he's still good and everything, but he's not top 10 anymore. No offense, but he's 34 years old. He hasn't looked amazing. He doesn't even play every single down anymore. He's coming off a torn ACL. There's just no way you can put him that high. Definitely would have swapped Joey Bosa out. I probably would have put Joey Bosa at 8, and I would have put Judon at 9, just because Judon had a really boring season last year. And I think that's also just because there's a lot of moving parts on that defense last year. I think he'll be a little bit better this year because there's less moving parts, more solidified in the back end. So hopefully this year they'll be able to clamp up coverage so he has a little bit more time to rush the passer. But I'm saying all this and I'm still in my brain trying to wrap my head about another guy I can throw in there, and I don't have a big, defensive end list that goes on and on forever. But there's got to be some guys that, if I had a sheet in front of me that I could read off some names and, get it to spring back in my brain, I could immediately just say like, oh yeah, I would put him above Von Miller. So
yeah, I'm right there with you.
I just don't see the Von Miller in the top 10 thing.
Yeah, and if anything, just swap him and Joey Bosa, even though they both kind of didn't play the majority of last season because of injury. I just feel like at their both of them at their stages of their career. Like Joey Bosa is a little bit younger, a little bit more like potential still in there. To me, he played a little bit better than Vaughn. And like you said, Vaughn doesn't play every down anymore, so I don't understand him at 9. But like you said, I don't see anyone that you can replace him. I mean, there's some good talent in the honorable mentions, but like Hutcherson, he's a rookie. I don't think he didn't fly off my screen. Like Vaughn still flies off my screen. Joey Bosa flies off my screen. Like those guys are hurt, but they, he doesn't fly off my screen. Hendrickson, he's more just like a sound technique guy who just gets to the quarterback, doesn't fly off my screen. Khalil Mack,
he's in the same boat. He's older now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other guys like you're saying, like Chandler Jones for Vegas. Dude, he was good when he was with the Patriots and everything, but like with Vegas, he wasn't very outstanding or exciting. I think Cameron Jordan's kind of the one that I feel like kind of got snubbed, and it's kind of because like, dude, he kind of plays D end and defensive tackle. Kind of does both. So like, maybe that's where his fall off has come. But no, I mean, I still think I would have rated, in my personal opinion, I kind of still think I would rate Hutchinson over Miller. Just because, one, I don't think I know how Miller's going to be this year. Like, we don't know how Miller's going to do. Like, we just don't.
That's very true.
He's not even going to play half the season, or not half, but I don't think he's going to play like the first couple of weeks.
If I had to guess, probably not. Especially if you're older, coming back from ACL, you probably take it even slower. I mean, the top 3 I'm okay with, but like you said, Parsons he took a lot more snaps at edge, so I could see where they're coming from. But he's still like a hybrid, like he's just all over the place. Like,
but that was the other thing is like if you look at their moves they made this offseason, they did make moves in order to put him back at linebacker. They did just draft a defensive end, and they did pick up some defensive ends in free agency. So they made moves in order to move him back to outside linebacker, or they did it at least so that he would only be defensive end on third down. So like, I need you to get to the quarterback. Got you, coach. I'll get to the quarterback. That kind of thing. But that's our opinion.
At the end of the day, it's their list. I guess they can do whatever they want, even if it's not 100%,
But like I said, I'm completely fine with Parsons being on the list. I just think based on last season, him being an offensive linebacker offside linebacker, and this offseason, like they actually did their due diligence to try to like get some defensive ends. Like, let's just move him back to where he's gonna play. And we're pretty confident he's gonna play as offside linebacker. Oh,
yeah,
tongue twisting my own self.
The tongue twister. I think so. All in all, good list. Next episode we will tackle the defensive tackle list. So stay tuned for that, everyone. But that is the end of Rapid Fire for today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for continuing to watch our episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and TikTok at MTL Sports Pod. And one of these days we will make the Threads the newest thing, so you'll find us on Thread soon. But yeah, Lawrence, any closing words? Anything for the viewers before we head on out?
Anything for the viewers? Well, anyone that is watching right now, I put some money on Rodriguez to win the home run derby, and as we're talking as we speak right now, man's just hit 41 home runs in the first round. Okay. The max currently in the first round was 32. So yeah, we're feeling a little good. I hope he just didn't gas himself out, but he is only like 24 years old, so I'm a little older than that. But I remember at 24 we go all day.
Yeah, hopefully, he's a young gun. He should have a lot of gas in the tank. You'll find out next episode if this man hit the bank or not.
Oh,
Also,
you need it. You need it.
what did I want to say? Tennis. I've been watching a lot of tennis lately.
Oh yeah.
Tennis, Wimbledon's going on right now. So if you guys like tennis, maybe we'll do a tennis segment once they get to like the finals or semifinals. We both watch a lot of tennis, so maybe we
Dude,
can
who's
do
your?
a
Okay. Just gonna put this out there right now. One of my favorites right now, on the women's side, is Madison Keys. What a baddie. We're not talking about looks right now. We're talking about skill. She's
skill
playing
wise.
We're talking about an outstanding. She's just playing at an outstanding level. I remember this morning. I had some money on her. And I got into work. I looked at my phone. They were an hour into the game, and she lost the first set, and she was down 4-1 the second set. She came back and won the thing. Bless her soul. She saved the day for your boy. And now I had to put some money on her for win Wimbledon. So
Now you gotta ride the wave.
she did. She is a former runner-up at Wimbledon. So
Maybe it's her time to shine. What else? I also wanted to I watched the track championships, the USA Track Championships. Shout out to Sha'Carri Richardson winning the 100-meter. But also shout out to this teenager, Arrington Knight, who just like dominated the 200-meter run. Like this kid is amazingly fast. He didn't go against Lyles. If any of you viewers or watch or track
I actually watched some
enthusiasts,
of it on YouTube. I just remember there was that one girl that did the 200 meter, and she was only 17, and she came in like 4th or 5th or something like that. And I was like, it was very obvious how much undeveloped in terms of like muscle mass she was compared to other girls, and I was like, shit.
but the fact that like some of these teenagers are starting to be able to compete with like grown women and grown men is just insane.
Oh, okay.
And Arrington Knight is like 19, and he competed. I think he competed at the Olympics last year when he was like 18, which is like insane. Like the kid is just super fast. Like shout out to him.
You want to talk about something weird? And this is a little outside of sports, but it's still kind of sports related. You should watch the current season of American Ninja Warrior. Dude, half the people that are doing it are in high school. Like over half the people who are doing the runs are in high school. It's not okay.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'm telling you, and it's actually. I'm not gonna lie. The season 15. I haven't watched it in years, but I just decided to watch it because it was on TV, and I kind of got hooked on it. I was like, dude, that's a 16-year-old. There's this 15-year-old girl, and they said that she weighed a whole 95 pounds.
Oh my god!
She made it up. She made it through the whole thing and up the wall. And I was like, dude, she had like no muscle mass on her arm. It doesn't matter, dude. She weighs 95 pounds. She doesn't weigh anything.
That's insane.
But they were like all these other like buff women in their 30s. They couldn't make it past the 5th obstacle. This freaking 15-year-old made it look like it was nothing. And some of these like older guys who have been doing it forever are saying that this new generation is like it's just not fair anymore.
Just haters. That's all that is. Just a bunch of haters. But that's pretty much it, guys. Tune into Summer League if watch the young guns play. Wemby's done for the summer, but it was still nice seeing him for those 2 games. But all right, folks, I think we're going to get up out of here. This has been the MTL Sports Podcast, episode 21. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. 21. And we're going to get up out of here. Peace, y'all.